There are stories in the music industry that end in glory, and then there are stories that rot in silence, buried under lies, greed, and denial. This is one of those stories, the story of a teenage prodigy who went from sleeping in a car to topping the Billboard Hot 100, and then, years later, to sleeping in a prison cell, stripped of fame, money, and the illusion of success he worked so hard to protect. Shawn Kingston wasn't supposed to end up here. At 17, he was the face of a new era, the golden boy of melodic rap and tropical pop. His voice carried the warmth of the Caribbean, his smile the innocence of youth. He represented hope, but behind that smile, there was something darker. A secret addiction, not to drugs, but to image, to the feeling of being seen. And once the world stopped looking, he couldn't live with it. To understand his downfall, you have to go back to the beginning. Before we dive, I just want to thank every single one of you watching right now. If you love uncovering the untold truths behind Hollywood's biggest stars, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It helps this small channel grow and bring you more stories that deserve to be remembered. Alright, let's get into it. Shawn Kingston was born in Miami, Florida, but raised in Kingston, Jamaica. The island gave him rhythm, but it also gave him pain. By the time he was 10, he already knew what it meant to struggle. His mother, Janice, was caught and sentenced for bank fraud, leaving Shawn without a home. For a while, he lived inside a car, learning that comfort was a luxury and trust was a weakness. He was just a kid, but his surroundings were a classroom of crime and survival. At 11, he was caught breaking into a property, a petty crime that foreshadowed a much darker path to come. But even then, the dream was music. He had rhythm in his blood, the grandson of Jack Ruby, one of Jamaica's most respected reggae producers. Music was more than a passion, it was an escape plan. And Shawn was determined to rewrite his story. At 17, with $300 and a one-way plane ticket, he landed in Los Angeles. No friends, no family, just hope. And a few songs uploaded on MySpace under the name Franchise. He wasn't supposed to make it, but then again, miracles often start where logic ends. Some stories are born from struggle, others from timing. Shawn's was both. In the mid-2000s, the internet was breaking down the walls between artists and the world. A record producer named J.R. Rodham stumbled across his profile, a teenager from Jamaica with a smooth voice and street charisma. He saw potential. At first, Shawn was meant to be a rapper, but one night, he started singing instead of rapping in the studio, and that changed everything. The producers were stunned. They threw away the rap project and rebranded him completely. Franchise was gone. Shawn Kingston was born. In 2007, his debut single Beautiful Girls hit the airwaves, and the world stopped to listen. It was catchy, simple, nostalgic, and heartbreakingly charming. The song sampled Benny King's Stand By Me and transformed it into a teenage anthem. It shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 4 weeks straight, beating out Rihanna, Fergie, and Timbaland. In that moment, Shawn Kingston became a global sensation. He toured with Gwen Stefani, opened for Beyoncé, and performed at Madison Square Garden. He was only 17, living every dream he ever had. The boy who once slept in cars was now driving Bentleys. The kid who had nothing now had everything. But fame, when it comes that fast, never comes alone. It brings attention, temptation, and ego is the quietest kind of poison. 2 years later, in 2009, Shawn released his sophomore album, Tomorrow. It was supposed to solidify his place in pop culture, but it didn't. While Fire Burning became a moderate hit, the album itself barely reached number 37 on the Billboard 200 before disappearing from the charts. The fans moved on, and in the world of pop, when the audience leaves, the spotlight dies. Still, Shawn had talent, real talent. He wrote songs, produced hooks, and even helped pen Jason Derulo's What You Say, which went #1. He worked with Justin Bieber on Eeny Meeny, another global success. But behind the scenes, Shawn was struggling to adapt. The industry had shifted. New artists were coming, younger, fresher, faster. And Shawn's sound, that clean, sunny pop with Caribbean flavor, started to sound like the past. Instead of evolving, he doubled down on the lifestyle. The luxury cars, the jewelry, the parties. He wasn't chasing music anymore. He was chasing validation, and when the music didn't pay enough, he found other ways to maintain that illusion. In 2011, life tried to warn him. While riding a jet ski off the coast of Miami, Shawn crashed at high speed into a bridge. The injuries were catastrophic: broken jaw, fractured ribs, torn aorta. He needed multiple heart surgeries just to survive. For weeks, he hovered between life and death. When he finally recovered, many thought this would be his turning point, a new beginning. But for Shawn, it was just another excuse to live harder, louder, and faster. He told interviewers he had learned from his near-death experience, but his actions said otherwise. He continued to spend recklessly, hosting mansion parties, showing off designer watches, claiming million-dollar deals that didn't exist. And when the money ran out, he borrowed, lied, and manipulated to keep the illusion alive. The same boy who once sang Beautiful Girls had now fallen in love with something else entirely: the performance of wealth. By 2014, Shawn Kingston was no longer topping charts. He was topping court dockets. His name appeared in lawsuit after lawsuit. Jewelers, car dealers, nightclubs. Everyone had the same story. Shawn promised payment, flashed forged documents, then vanished. In one case, he owed $226,000 to a jeweler for unreturned rings and bounced checks. In another, he was sued over a $44,000 unpaid Rolex. By 2016, he was facing more than $500,000 in combined lawsuits. And that didn't include the $130,000 he owed in unpaid taxes. Every time he was confronted, he claimed misunderstanding or blamed others. But the truth was simpler. He couldn't stop pretending. The more he was exposed, the more desperate he became to prove he was still rich, still relevant, still Shawn Kingston the star. And that desperation would drive him into full-blown fraud. In 2013, he released an album called Back to Life. The title promised rebirth. The reality was failure. The album didn't chart, critics dismissed it, and fans barely noticed. Yet, instead of facing the truth, Shawn constructed a new fantasy. He claimed to own multiple homes, luxury cars, and million-dollar jewelry collections. But court documents revealed the opposite. He was broke, living with his mother, and his bank accounts were nearly empty. He even scammed his own lawyer out of $17,000. Despite everything, he continued to post pictures of lavish houses and cars online. Homes that weren't his, cars that were leased, jewelry that wasn't paid for. It was a digital illusion, a mirage of success carefully built on lies. In 2022, Shawn Kingston announced he had signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Empire Records. He claimed to have cleared all debts and promised a major comeback with his new album, Road to Deliverance. Fans were hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, this was the return they'd been waiting for. But when the album dropped, it barely made a ripple. Sales were low, streams were worse. There was no tour, no charting single, no real success. And once again, the money wasn't enough to support the lifestyle. So Shawn and his mother went back to what they knew: manipulation and fraud. Between April 2023 and March 2024, Shawn and his mother orchestrated a string of high-end scams targeting luxury brands, jewelers, and entertainment companies. Their method was simple: use fame as a weapon. They'd contact vendors, promise exposure, or claim connections with major artists like Justin Bieber. They'd negotiate discounts or delayed payments, send forged wire transfer receipts, and disappear. One major case involved Verver Entertainment. They provided Shawn with a $47,000 custom entertainment system, a massive TV, sound system, and installation. In return, he promised exposure and payment. But the payment never came. The wire transfer receipt he sent was fake. The entire deal was a fraud. In another case, he defrauded a jeweler named Andrei Nikolenko for over $480,000 in watches and accessories, again using fake payment receipts and fabricated messages, claiming massive wire transfers from First Republic Bank. None of it was real. It was systematic deception, professional-level fraud carried out with confidence, and arrogance. And the worst part, he believed he could get away with it. When the lawsuits piled up and the complaints reached federal authorities, the investigation began quietly. Agents traced digital transactions, verified bank documents, and reviewed text messages. Every lead pointed to one conclusion: Shawn and his mother were running a criminal operation. They forged wire transfer receipts. They lied to businesses. They used Shawn's celebrity status to disarm suspicion, and they had done it multiple times. In May 2024, authorities executed a raid on Shawn's Florida mansion. Inside, they found boxes of luxury goods, unpaid merchandise, and fake financial documents. Phones seized from both Shawn and his mother revealed text conversations detailing the entire scheme, the negotiations, the fake payments, the excuses. It was undeniable. The boy who once sang about love and innocence had turned into a con artist. When the arrest came, the image shattered. Videos surfaced online showing Shawn in handcuffs, his mother being escorted by federal officers. For the first time, the world saw behind the curtain: the lies, the debts, the desperation. Shawn Kingston, already a convicted fraudster, faced multiple new charges. Her son, now 34, was charged with multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and wire deception. He was sentenced to 42 months in federal prison. His mother received 5 years plus probation. In court, Shawn appeared broken, emotional, confused, and disconnected from the man he once was. But the evidence was overwhelming. This wasn't one mistake. This was a lifestyle built on lies. In the end, Shawn Kingston's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that fame can be both a gift and a curse. He had everything: talent, charisma, opportunity. But he also had a weakness: the need to appear successful even when he wasn't. Instead of facing failure, he faked success. Instead of rebuilding his career, he built scams, and in the end, it cost him everything. The boy who once topped the Billboard charts with beautiful girls became a headline for fraud and forgery. His legacy was rewritten, not by his music, but by his crimes. And maybe that's the real tragedy, not just the fall itself, but how long he pretended to still be standing. If there's a single lesson in Shawn Kingston's story, it's this: when your image becomes more important than your reality, you've already started losing everything that's real. The money, the fame, the fans, they all fade. What remains is the truth. And for Shawn Kingston, the truth finally caught up. Once, his voice made the world sing. Now his silence echoes louder than any song he ever recorded, because sometimes the greatest fraud of all isn't the one you pull on others, but the one you pull on yourself.